Hi guys, my name is Max Rhodes and today I will teach you how to customize your website using MotoCMS 3 system. And today we will talk about some basic widgets and how you can use them while creating your homepage. So let's go. That's our admin panel, that's how the dashboard looks like. And in order to start working with your website, here's actually the website, the template that I've chose. It's Arctic. It's one of our newest templates that includes all of the updated widgets and cool designs. So you might want to take a look at that template once I'm done with the webinar. Let's go to the dashboard. So switching over to Pages tab to get access to our content of the website. So here we have a list of the pages that we can work with. I'm gonna work with the home page. And the thing number one that you need to remember about each and every page is that it contains of three sections. It's header right here, it's gonna be content section, and it's gonna be footer right here. Header and footer can repeat the content on each and every page, and you can set it on a page settings right here. Just switch from one header to another on each and every page. What makes your each and every page unique is the content section, so that's where you want to work. So in case you get a problem where you've added an image into the some section on your web page, then you go from page to page and you see that you get it repeated every time, you probably inserted that new widget into the header section or footer section. So that might be the mistake that some people commit while starting working with the MotoCMS admin panel. Now let's get a closer look into the section itself and what it means, and how to work with it. So I'm gonna click on the content section right here, and I've got already a widget selected. It says row. So that is the top widget that is inserted into the content section on our website. Inside of that row, you can see image, text box, the button, different widgets that are located inside of that row. We call that a nesting tree for the widgets. So let's say I click on an image, and if I click here, you will see that it's located in this row, and that row is located in a bigger one. And that's how the structure of MotoCMS actually works. Let me see, any way to change the order of the pages? Unfortunately, Tom, it is not possible to change the order of the pages. I assume you're talking about that drop-down menu. We already have some ideas on how to improve that section of our admin panel, and we consider adding that feature in future, probably in one of our latest updates, maybe closer to summer. It's gonna be easier to navigate between these pages, and you will be able to sort them up and down, and you will not be stuck that the page that you've created goes to the very end of that list. So. But as for now, the answer is no, it is not possible to change the order of the pages. So, thank you for the question, Tom, actually. I'm gonna move forward with the structures of our admin panel. So, let's pretend that I want to add some sort of a content to my website. And the very first thing that I will be doing and using, it will be a row or a container. And 95% of the time it's gonna be a row. So I'm gonna click on the button and drag it to the content section and drop it. And I can see I have an empty section on my website that has nothing inside of it. The very first thing I want you to remember about, that's another tip that you wanna write down, maybe put a note somewhere, to make sure that you remember about that, is when you use a row, you want to make sure that you use fixed width for the content of that row. And I'm gonna explain you what it makes. Why do you need that? Let's pretend that we have a lot of text. Sorry. It's like some sort of a store in our website like this. And in case if your row is set to use 100% of the width of the website, that means that no matter what website, what is the size of the screen that is used to preview the website, that means that the text will always stick to the very left side and right side of the browser, and you do not want that to happen because it will really look ugly. And I can show you an example right here with that image and that row right here. If we're gonna make it 100% like that, let's check what's gonna happen. I hope you see the difference. There is no spacing on the sides at all. So every time you add a new row, make sure you want to use a fixed width of that row. And you will not have these kind of problems where your content sticks all over the space and it just looks ugly. So that is how you're gonna add the row. Here you go. And the next thing with the row is the structure of the row, the amount of columns that will be used to build the content of that particular section of the website. Rafael, is there any way to resize the header? Sure, Rafael, I'm gonna answer your question and then I'm gonna get back to the row section. So just a moment. We have a question about resizing the header, so I'm gonna select the header section right here, the orange line. In order to make it smaller, I can play with the spacing. For example, I can delete the space widget, or I can make it bigger or smaller like this, or I can delete it at all. I can remove spacing on these buttons. And my header will become smaller and smaller and smaller every time I remove certain settings on each and every widget around it. So, but you still want to keep the things clean on your website when you don't have it overwhelmed with all of the information, I mean, just in one place. You want to make sure that people can clearly see the main idea of your website, the title, certain buttons, and what it's gonna happen when people gonna click that button. So do not put it all together. Make sure you use spacing, and don't worry, the content gonna stretch itself. It's I'm sorry, it's a responsive template, so no worries about the spacing. All right, Rafa, I'm happy I answered your question. I'm gonna move back to row widget right here. Sorry. The thing number 2 on a row is a structure of the row. It's amount of the columns that you're gonna use inside of that row. Let's start with, for example, 3 columns, and you can see that you can change the width of each column. Also, you can change even the background for the whole row, or at least for a certain column. What that helps you to do? For example, you can make a section like this by using a row that will be divided into the 2 columns, and there will be one image in first column, and there will be text and the button in the second column. That makes basically the main idea of your website creation is based on that row structure, and that helps your website to be responsive, because every time you go to mobile devices, these columns will jump one under another and make it look attractive on mobile devices. So if you ask me why it is so complicated at the first point, you might think about the end result that you're gonna get without any coding, using just a drag and drop builder built by MotoCMS 3. So here is the row, and let me add an image here. I'm gonna actually create the same copy of that row underneath. So I'm gonna remove background on each row and column. I'm gonna make 2 columns. I'm gonna make it one fixed width, and here I got the image. So I want to add an image like this. Remember, the second stage of our webinar is how to use media library, uploading and organizing files. I'm gonna cover that section right now while choosing a nice image for my sample. So I've got an image widget dropped here. I can move it, you know, from one column to another. And I'm gonna select an image. Of course, I have a list of pre-made images used in the template that I can use on my website. They are sorted in the folders. You can also click on all items and see like videos or audio or documents if you have these files uploaded. I have only images, so these filters do not work right now. So I'm gonna upload a couple more images that I want to use for myself. I'm gonna create a folder and name it webinar right here, and I'm gonna upload some images. You can drag and drop files over here, or just simply click on choose file, and let's upload 4 of these images. And you see how the progress bar on the background shows how many items has been uploaded so far. So we always keep you in track what's going on in the admin panel, so you don't feel lost. Alright, so let's check. The webinar folder now has 4 files that I can use for my website creation. And as far as you remember, I've clicked on image widget right here on the plus sign, where I can go to the media library if I want to play around with my content. I mean, with my images and audio and videos and so on. So right now I work with the image widget. I'm going to click on plus sign. I'm going to go to webinar folder and choose image sample number 4. And here, a very interesting thing that you want to remember about as well, that's probably going to be tip number 3 that you're going to write down during that webinar. You always want to use images that are optimized for web devices. That means that the dimension of the image that will take just like 1/3 width of your website should not exceed more than like 500 pixels in width. If that's gonna be a small image of your team member, like 200 pixels in width and let's say 400 pixels in height, you don't want to use an image that will has like that will have 2000 pixels resolution and so on. It will slow down your website a lot. It will take much more time to load that image on the computer of the visitor of your website. So you always want to make sure the dimensions of the images that you use are optimized to that place on the website where you're gonna use it. So if that's gonna be a background image, you probably want to make it about 2000 pixels in width so that it covers large screens with a full background and it's not get blurred and so on. But when you're talking about working with like some small image on the website, or you have like section of 5 different images, make sure they are not more than about 400 pixels in width, something around that. And check the file size as well. If you see that it exceeds 1 megabyte, you have problems. You really need to make it much lower than that. You can use Photoshop or any other software downloaded online, and then optimize your images using this software, uploading them to your media library, and that will increase the loading speed of your website dramatically. Alright, so that's how you upload the images. And here you see the dimensions of that image is 417 over 476. That's the original size, and I can make it 300 over 300 right away, right here. So pretty nice bird. I'm gonna make some spacing around it. I'm gonna give it a little bit more on the left. and I'm gonna add a text box to my second column. Sample text. Let's say I want to get some spacing around that widget as well. And now that's gonna be the tip number 4, working with text styles and the fonts. That's a very important thing while working with MotoCMS 3. So if you are distracted right now checking your instant messenger or checking your Facebook, you probably want to look at that right now and remember how to update texts and text styles on your website and make your website still optimized and not overwhelmed with dozens of Google fonts that take some time to load and actually slows your website. So once you've added a text, you can assign a certain text style to that text, like a tagline, for example, and it's gonna be white with a certain font used and a certain font size used. It can be heading XXL, it's gonna be much bigger. It can be heading L. Oh, that's something that we might be looking for. I'm gonna keep it like this, and I'm not gonna change anything else here, because if in future I want to update the website, like in total, like I have 5 sections and each section gonna have the same style of the title of that section, I would like to update the text style that these sections use. Basically, I will not update 5 different sections one by one. I will update one text style that is used by these sections, and after that the changes will be applied to all of the places where that particular text style is used. So, for example, I've selected a heading L style here, and you will ask, how do I make it like 5 times bigger, or maybe change color to blue instead of black? And I will tell you to go to, I'm gonna save these changes, and I'm gonna go to design section right here, and here we have text styles. These are all the text styles that are used on your website. So if you click anywhere here, you'll probably get settings for a certain text style. So this one will be custom text 12, this one will be custom text 1, this one is custom text 2, and so on. And here is the title that I've been working with. It's heading L, and I was right, it's exactly the same heading L. So in order to apply to changes to both of these titles, I'm gonna just change the color inside of my text style builder, and that's it. Do you see that? I mean, I don't need to go all over the website, click all of the pages where I've used that text style. I just apply a change in one place in the admin panel, and it gets updated all over the place. That's why MotoCMS is that easy. We always want to make things so simple that our users do not feel any problems creating the website without having any extra coding knowledge. So I hope you've understood that the main idea working with the text styles is getting the one right design created under text styles tab under design section, and then you're gonna use these text styles on different parts of your website, and that will make your website look exactly the same on all the pages. So you will not have a font size 16 and font size 18 of similar sections on different pages. That helps you to avoid these kind of mistakes while creating a website. And one more thing I want to mention about the text styles is that if you're gonna apply changes to a text inside of the text box, ignoring the actual text style, like changing the size, for example, you're gonna save this change. When you're gonna go to design section and edit the text styles, that was custom text 2 as far as I remember. you see the font size for that text style is still 55. So if you're gonna apply changes to a certain text box, it will still keep the text style of a certain type, but it will have its own custom settings applied to that text box. And if you're gonna change any settings for the text style, the text box will not be affected. So the more customizations you do for a certain text box, the more problems you're gonna get in future by updating your website. Alright, so that's how you're gonna work with text styles, and actually I'm gonna also mention that you can change settings for the hover effect, for links. You can choose fonts from the list of fonts that you've already added to your builder. And actually I'll use a chance to talk about fonts as well. Under settings tab, you can add any font from Google Fonts library by just using that button. Click add button, select the font family. Just takes some time to load because the list is very big. And you can use any font and add it to your admin panel, and then you can use that font in order to create new text styles. By the way, you can create new text styles and use existing ones. Alright, let's take a look. Uploading and organizing files. So I've just showed you how I've created part of the place where I have an image and a text. I'm gonna end it up real quickly to make it look similar. Duplicate it. You can duplicate the widget, drag it, and the green bar will show you where it's gonna be dropped. Like this, it's gonna be dropped under the sample text. If I'm gonna drop it like this, it will be dropped under the row. If I'm gonna drop it like this, it's gonna be right above that image, and so on. So I wanna put it here, and I wanna add a button. Let me do it by myself. It's gonna be medium. It's gonna go to home page, and it's gonna be okay. Let's keep it blue button as well, and let's change the name of the button. You see how simple is it? I just click there, and the changes are already applied. And once again, I don't want my button to stick over to the border of that row. So I want to make sure I have some spacing for it, just like this. I can make an image a little bit bigger. I can use original one, and it's gonna be like this. If you want to make an image smaller, you can easily do it by selecting a row where that image is located, by switching it over like this. You can add the column number 3. You can switch the columns, and now you can control the size of that image inside of that website section, like this. That's probably tip number 5 or tip number 6, I don't already remember how many tips we've covered so far on how to resize objects on the website page. In case you have an image and you need to resize it, or it can be a video, or it can be an audio player, you will still want to make it be like, take it like 1/3 of the space on the website, or take it 2/3 of the space on the website. You can control that with the width of the column.